Alright, we're back. Chapter 1. The Hermetic Philosophy. The lips of wisdom are closed, except to the ear of understanding. The Kybalion. From old Egypt have come the fundamental esoteric and occult teaching which have so strongly influenced the philosophy of all race, nation and people for several thousand years. Egypt, the home of the pyramid and the Sphinx, was the birthplace of the hidden wisdom and mystic teaching. From a secret doctrine all nations have borrowed, India, Persia, Chaldea, Media, China, Japan, Assyria, ancient Greece and Rome, and other ancient countries partook liberally at the feast of knowledge, which the hierophant and master of the land of Isis so freely provided for those who came prepared to partake of the great store of mystic and occult lore which mastermind of that ancient land are gathered together. In ancient Egypt dwelt the great adept and master who have never been surpassed, and who seldom have been equal during the century that have taken their processional flight since the day of the great Hermes. In Egypt was located the great lodge of the mystic. At the door of a temple entered the neophyte who afterward, as hierophant, adept, and masters, traveled the four corners of earth, carrying with them the precious knowledge, which they were ready, anxious, and willing to pass on to those who were ready to receive the same. All students of the occult recognize the debt that they owe to this venerable master of that ancient land. But among these great masters of ancient Egypt, there once dwelt one, of whom master hailed as the master of masters. This man, if man indeed he was, dwelt in Egypt in the earliest day. He was known as Hermes Trismegistus. He was the father of the occult wisdom, the founder of astrology, the discoverer of alchemy. The details of his life story are lost to history, owing to the lapse of the years, though several of the ancient countries disputed with each other in their claim to the honor of having furnished his birthplace, and this thousands of years ago. The date of his sojourn in Egypt, in that his last incarnation on this planet, is not known, but it was being fixed at the earlier day of the oldest dynasty of Egypt, long before the day of Moses. The best authority regard him as a contemporary of Abraham, and some of the Jewish tradition go so far as to claim that Abraham acquired a portion of his mystic knowledge from Hermes himself. As the year rolled by after his passing from this plane of life, tradition regarding that he lived 300 years in the flesh, the Egyptians deified Hermes and made him one of their gods, under the name of Thoth. Years after, the people of ancient Greece also made him one of their many gods, calling him Hermes, the god of wisdom. The Egyptians revered his memory for many centuries, yes, 10 of centuries, calling him the scribe of the gods, and bestowing him distinctly his ancient title, Trismegistus, which means the thrice great, the great great, the greatest great, etc. In all ancient land, the name of Hermes Trismegistus was revered, the name being synonymous with the fount of wisdom. Even to this day, we use the term hermetic in the sense of secret, sealed so that nothing can escape, etc. And this reason of the fact that the followers of Hermes always observe the principle of secrecy in their teaching. They did not believe in casting pearls before swine, but rather held to the teaching, milk for babe and meat for strong men, both of which maxims are familiar to readers of the Christian scripture. but both of which had been used by the Egyptians for centuries before the Christian era. And this policy of careful dissemination of the truth has always characterized the Hermetic, even unto the present day. The Hermetic teachings are to be found in all lands among all religions, but never identify with any particular country, nor with any particular religious sect. This is because of the warning of the ancient teacher against allowing the secret doctrine to become crystallized into a grid. The wisdom of this caution is apparent to all students of history. The ancient occultism of India and Persia degenerated and was largely lost owing to the fact that the teacher became priest and so mixed theology with philosophy. The result being that the occultism of India and Persia has been gradually lost amidst the mass of religious superstition, cult, greed, and gods. So it was with ancient Greece and Rome. So it was with the Hermetic teaching of the Gnostic and early Christian, which were lost at the time of Constantine, whose iron hand smote philosophy with the blanket of theology, losing to the Christian church that which was its very essence and spirit, and causing it to the grope towards several centuries before it found the way back to this ancient faith. The indication apparent to all careful observers in this 20th century being that the church is now struggling to get back to its ancient mystic teaching. But there are always a few faithful souls who kept alive the flame, tending it carefully and not allowing its light to become extinguished. And thanks to this staunch heart and fearless mind, we have the truth still with us. But it is not found in book to any great extent. It has been passed along from master to student, from initiate to hierophant, from lips to ear. When it was written down at all, its meaning was veiled in terms of alchemy and astrology, so that only those possessing the key could read it aright. I repeat, when it was written down at all, its meaning was veiled in terms of alchemy and astrology, so that only those possessing the key could read it aright. It's all about principle and sacred code. Also in the Bible. We're going to continue the lecture. It's all code. You have to know the code when you read the Bible, when you read the Kybalion and all this esoteric and occult teaching, because it's all archetype, principle, and if you don't know the secret code, you will be lost. So I continue. This was made necessary in order to avoid the persecution of the theologians of the Middle Ages, who found the secret doctrine which fire and sword, stake, gibbet, and cross. Even to this day, there will be found but few reliable books on the Hermetic philosophy, although there are countless references to it in many books written in various phases of occultism, and yet the Hermetic philosophy is the only master key which will open all the doors of the occult teaching. In the earlier day, there was a compilation of certain basic Hermetic doctrine passed on from teacher to students, which was known as the Kybalion. The exact significance and meaning of the term having been lost for several centuries. This teaching, however, is known to many to whom it has descended from mouth to ear, on and on throughout the century. Its precepts have never been written down or printed so far as we know. It was merely a collection of maxims, axioms, and precepts, which were non-understandable to outsiders, but which were readily understood by students after the axiom, maxim, and precept that's been explained and explained by the Hermetic initiate to their neophyte. This teaching really constitutes the basic principle of the art of Hermetic alchemy, which, contrary to the general belief, dealt in the mastery of mental forces rather than material element, the transmutation of one kind of mental vibration into another, instead of changing of one kind of metal into another. The legend of Philosopher's Stone, which would turn base metal into gold, was an allegory relating to Hermetic philosophy, readily understood by all students of true Hermeticism. In this little book, of which this is the first lesson, we invite your student to examine into the Hermetic teaching as set forth in the Kybalion, and as explained by ourselves, humble students of the teaching, who, while bearing the title of initiate, and still student at the feet of Hermes the Master. We herein give you many of the maxim, axiom, and precept of the Kybalion, accompanied by explanation and illustration, which were deemed likely to render the teaching more easily comprehended by the modern students, particularly as the original text is purposely veiled in obscure terms. The original maxim, axiom, and precept of the Kybalion are printed herein in quotation mark, the proper credit being given. Your own work is printed in the regular way in the body of the work. We trust that many students to whom we know offer this little work will derive as much benefit from the study of its page as have the many who have gone on before, treading the same path to mastery throughout the century that have passed since the time of Hermes Trismegistus, the master of masters, the great, in the word, the Kybalion. And here 2 quotes. Wherefore the footstep of the master, the ear of those ready for his teaching open wide. The Kybalion. And here go another one. When the ear of the student are ready to hear, then commit the lips to them with wisdom. The Kybalion. So that, according to the teaching, the passage of this book to those ready for the instruction will attract the attention of such as prepare to receive the teaching. And likewise, when the pupil is ready to receive the truth, then will this little book come to him or her. Such is the law. Hermetic principle of cause and effect, in its aspect of the law of attraction, will bring lips and ear together, pupil and book in company. So, mote it be.